Hey everybody, it's Luke, and we're back with another component to the challenges of running Boston and training for Boston. And so the third part is really kind of moving away from the training aspect and getting into the race itself. In particular, the potential weather, right? And I actually just did a little interview with the Boston Buddies Facebook group, and we were talking about a lot of the same stuff. And I think it's pertinent as we start thinking about Boston training and then the race itself. So you have some different issues. The first one is really from the time of year that Boston is, and then the second part being just the start and finish locations, right? So if you're in Hopkinton, you're essentially 26 miles outside of the city, and so you're going from inland to coast, and it can be some pretty significant differences in weather. And so I really want to just touch on those things real quick. So first off, you have the potential weather. You know, in a dream year, uh, in 2011, let's just say, you get solid temps and a huge tailwind. I wrote 30 miles an hour. I don't know if it was 30 miles an hour, but I remember standing at the 5K mark, and I was actually on the phone with Coach Mike Morgan, and we had some guys running in the race. My wife was running in the race, and you could see the leaves blowing past the runners from a tailwind aspect, right? And it was just blowing them along the course. It was a fast year, and I think it was represented because I think 203 won Boston, which is much faster than other years. It was actually a world's best. I think Ryan Hall ran 204 that day. A lot of people set lifetime bests on a course that's fairly tough, and they haven't matched those since. So just you get a fast year, and I'm not blaming anybody because if you're running, that's what you want, right? Like you want that dream year, but that doesn't happen very often. But the thing is, however the weather is, it's going to affect people differently, right? So you could have, and you're talking mid-April for Boston, so you're at a time of year in a part of the country where you could get a nor'easter snowstorm, or you could have it be 85 degrees, and it's been both for those races at different, obviously different years. But you'll have one years that it's freezing, and you'll have other years that it's incredibly warm, and will be a race of attrition for a lot of people in those warm years. But the point is, you're going to have a wide spectrum, and if you're coming from a place like Florida or anywhere in the South, you're gonna probably be better off in that warmer weather, and cooler weather is probably going to feel a little colder to you than most, but it's still going to be very beneficial, because if you've trained in the warm and you get the benefits of the cool, you'll still have the heat adaptations that are going to make you a better runner anyway, right? And so if you're coming from a cold region and it's warm, it's a much different story, right? It's like we were talking about last night. You In the spring, 60 degrees is shorts weather. In the fall, 60 degrees is sweater weather, right? So there's a big difference between that timing, because you get a 60-degree day and you're used to it being below freezing. That's a pretty big shock to the system, and that's where you see a lot of people who will struggle with it if you get a pretty warm day. Um, so it's huge. So, but the bottom line is, you have to be ready for that heat acclimation. So this is really for the people who are training through the cold, snow, and all that good stuff over the course of the winter, and you just don't have a lot of days between, even March and the mid-April. You only have 6 weeks there. You still don't get a lot of warm days. You'll get a day here and there that's pretty warm, but then you'll get another day that's just as cold, right? And so you don't really get that full heat acclimation, even for a moderately warm day. That's, if you were running that in May or June, you'd feel like it would be an amazing day, but in April, it's just a really warm day, much warmer than you're used to. So we have to be ready for that. And the question is, how do we become ready for that? And so, just real quick, I think some of it we've talked about before is, having a good relationship with the treadmill. And as much as people want to push back on that, it is an easy source to get some sort of heat acclimation on a regular basis, because you can always control the environment. Even if you're in a gym, it's going to be warmer. It's going to be in the 60s in there. You're surrounded by your own humidity that you're creating on the treadmill. It's not moving anywhere because you're standing there, and so it's a good source, right? It's a good source to get some heat acclimation. And then if you really wanted to, you could overdress a little bit on there and stuff like that. But um, it's a good simple source to take advantage of on a regular basis. The second thing would be sauna or hot tub after a cold run. This has been shown to be beneficial. Same thing with a hot shower immediately following a run. We've been able to show that you can get some of the heat acclimation benefits, but obviously you want to be really careful here. Like if you have blood pressure issues or anything like that, you probably don't want to do that. You probably want to do something where you're not standing up in the shower after a run and getting into a hot shower. Like you could just throw a lot of that stuff off. So you want to be really really careful with that. But those are those are options. And then the fourth one would be overdressing during the day. Make sure you're hot, but not during the exercise, right? You're going to be warm during the exercise if you're overdressing for that. But mainly, we want to be in a fairly warm environment and overdress for that environment, but not necessarily exerting a lot of physical activity. But we can springboard some of those heat acclimation benefits. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not, but it's something that is better than nothing. But in any case, we will be discussing all these options in depth, much more in depth than this during our Boston Marathon training group. This is going to start December 4th, 2023. I really hope you join us. I will leave the link to all the information and the sign up in the blog post in the description for the video. So be sure to check that out. Hopefully, we can get you in the group and benefit with the coaching in the community aspect that we will be providing. It's always a good time for those who join on a yearly basis. So, all right, quick one today, but think about that as you're planning your training, and be sure to check us out for the Boston Marathon training group. So, all right, I will talk to you later. See you.